Welcome, everybody, to the show. Joining me, of course, is our co-host and fellow traveler, Dan, the Dan Noodles man, the Lord Gort of Wargaming. And we are just tickled to welcome our very special guest this evening, Mr. Harry Rowland from sunny Australia. Harry, thanks so much. Harry's having a little video trouble. We can hear him just fine.
Sorry, guys.
I think we're going to be... I think we're going to be okay. So, Harry, I want to get started immediately and ask about kind of what motivated this latest stage in the development of World in Flames, which I think the first edition was released in the 80s. Am I right about that?
1983 was when we first invented it. Mm-hmm. And basically, it was after Empires and Arms had come out, and hadn't actually come out, but we'd brought it out, and hadn't been picked up yet by Avalon Hill. And we decided, Greg and I decided, what are we going to do next? And I'd always had a hankering for Second World War games. I'd started up a little folder of notes when I was about 13, and I was basically inspired by Third Reich, John Prados. Mm-hmm. And also Pearl Harbor, which I think also was John Prados, to show.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, GDW's Pearl Harbor. I think an underrated and unjustly forgotten about game, actually.
Yeah, I played a lot because I particularly loved that you could do a Pacific war game, strategic war game on the divisional level. Mm-hmm. And so I went to core level, but with divisional breakdowns, and the Pacific War works fine. So it's sort of those two inspired me to go and produce it. And Greg was really keen to do a World War II game as well. So we both ended up working on it for a couple of years.
Well, it has turned out to be a keeper in what I guess I will think of as its 6th edition. And, still, at least the classic is still available right now from the Australian Design Group website. And we've played it. I haven't played the new edition yet, actually, although we've come perilously close a couple of times. What kind of motivated the changes that happened in this collector's edition?
Well, basically, first off, I suppose was we just kept updating it. Started in it's actually the 8th edition. We started we published the 7th, the 6th, and the 7th was sort of just 7th was just a little upgrading of the 6th. The 5th was the most biggest selling edition, and we produced it from 89 to 96. Sold 25,000 or something of it. So Ooh. pretty amazing numbers for a war.
Very respectable numbers.
Just for that edition. That was at its heyday. 5,000 a year. It's calmed down a lot since then. But basically, when we brought out the 7th edition in 2003, didn't do any more work till about 2009-10, but then a friend of mine, Rudiger Rodenscheidt, got me down when I was at a Euro WIFCon in Hofgeismar, and to start going through the rules. So then we just started going through with all the problems of the rules. Originally, it was just going to be an update, but then I just sort of got carried away, spent 2 years researching aircraft, all 1,000 aircraft involved in World War II. And then we were told about, I really want to do hard-mounted maps. And this was the first time we could actually do it. And in fact, as far as I know, this is the only FCO, the company that makes our maps, is the only company in the world that can do multi-map, hard-mounted maps with covered edges. Because, normal way they do it is they have a big board and then they just cut it in half. Mm-hmm. And but this is to actually wrap the edges. And all the other companies promised 3 millimeters in tolerances, and the hex is 17 millimeters. And so if you lose 3 millimeters on this end and 3 millimeters on this end in the middle, that's what the hex is. Yeah, you can't play the game.
No.
That'd have been an issue. I've got games like that where the maps don't quite align. Yeah, it's very disappointing.
3 millimeters out of a 7 millimeter hex. That's the bad tolerances, man.
Yeah, no. So it's 17 millimeters.
Even so.
Yeah,
but Harry, but still, there was a question here. If you can answer it, and then I have a question for you.
Yep.
Would you
How
care to
many have
hazard a
been sold?
guess as to how many have been sold overall?
50,000 plus.
Well, 4 of those have been mine. So
Well, we suspect there's at least 5,000 customers who have 10 copies. That's how we figure it. There's 50,000 plus of the main games, 50,000 plus of the follow-on games, American Flames, Patent in Flames, Day's Decision, Fatal Alliances, and then about 120,000 of the kits. Oh, well, whoever that is, Sean, you are one of the original Gronyards.
mm-hmm.
If you've got that copy, anyone who's got a 19, because I don't have one, anyone who's got a 1985 mint version of World in Flames is sitting on a gold mine. Saving for your children's universe. Yeah. We only printed 1,000. Right? I mean,
that total number is an extraordinary number, right? I mean, that's in the league of stuff like Panzer Leader and things like that. So those numbers are absolutely amazing.
It's interesting. The biggest war games, as far as I know, that have sold over the last, board war games, is Squad Leader, Tactical World War II, and World in Flames, Strategic World War II, like the two bookends of World War II.
Really? And Harry, I wanted to ask you, you've designed that game obviously a long time ago. Was complexity an issue?
No, I love complexity. That's the problem. That's why I find amazing that it's our most complex game and it's our biggest seller.
That's incredible. I've
always wondered why that is. 96 pages of rules, 96 pages of campaign notes, so 192 pages, 4,800 counters, 60,000 data points on those counters. That's why it took 2 years. The spreadsheet to do it is 100,000 cells, 1,000 aircraft of World War II, 100 cells, 27 columns is all the data, speed, range, different weapon types they have, engines, crew, all that climbing, maneuverability. And the other 70 is all the formulas to create the values for those aircraft. So this is Harry, like so far down the rabbit hole.
Now, Harry, this is a long game. You've been involved with this game for a hell of a long time. This passion and energy takes time, man. Do you and I'm sorry for asking, I don't want to be indiscreet, but do you have a full-time job or something like that? Or you know what I'm saying?
This isn't a full-time job. I used to be a highly paid computer consultant in the public service till I paid off my house. And then the day I paid off my house, I quit to do the gaming full-time. And that was in...
No way! Good for you, man!
That sounds like a great plan to me.
Well, it was a great plan until you turn 60. Then you see all your friends retiring on these massive pensions. And
you know what?
Away.
That's part and parcel of my question is the energy it takes to keep going, man. Do you foresee it being your, I don't know, for lack of a better word, retirement life?
What I want to do is, well, first off, I've got one more game left in me at least that I know of, 5 Empires. We want to do the whole set. We've done a Napoleonic game, we've done a World War II game, we've done a History of the World game, and so I want to do an Ancients game. So it's the Rise of Rome. So it's the 5 Empires. So I want to do that after 7 Ages is out. 7 Ages is finished, coming out. It was to come out this year. It's now coming out next year because of the reprint of World in Flames. But basically, I'd like to get someone to do the business side while I just concentrate on the game side. Because I'm not very good.
That's an employee, man. That's cash.
Well, or an investor. Right?
Okay.
Where I do the design, someone else does the business aspects. There's so much room for growth. For example, just one little thing, we've been asked to do a super deluxe virtual companion. Now that'd be easy to do, right?
You got all the data already, so
yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's easy to do it. Just offer a discount for people who've got the game. So if that's what people want. we got to redo all these games that have just sold out. That's the amazing thing about printing World in Flames. You know, we had all these 20-year-old games that had sold well. You know, Days of Decision is itself in its third edition.
Mhm.
It sold
What do you
of
mean
those
redo?
50,000.
What are you going to redo?
Well, let me actually reframe that question, Dan, because I've got questions. Doug here from the Tabletop's Edge. Harry, I assume you're aware of his marvelous playthrough series that he is currently engaged in, and which he does not bring us videos in nearly often enough. And rest assured, I have sent him many terse emails to that effect. But is there
every Saturday?
Because Doug's using Days of Decision for his playthrough, and I was wondering, I was going to ask this too: is there a planned update to bring Days of Decision into line with the collector's edition?
Yes, that's certainly yes. That's something I'd love to do, because to me, Days of Decision was the most mind-numbing game to design. You had to keep 30 or 40 factors in your mind at any one time. I found it incredibly difficult to design, and I think it's really clunky as written. I think it's got some really good concepts. I like the basic idea of it, but I think the rules themselves should be completely rewritten, and I think there should be more effort put into the political engine as well.
So who's going to unclunk it? Who's going to rewrite these rules?
Are you volunteering, Dan?
No.
This is where I need help, right? Because American Flames want to bring out again as well, because now that we've got the new Planes in Flames and Ships in Flames for the collector's edition, they're deliberately designed for Pattern in Flames and American Flames as well. So I'd love to play American Flames with all the Ships in Flames and Planes in Flames. I want the maps redone up, you know, so that they're much more accurate. Same with the Days of Decision. I'd like to tweak the political values. Individual cards, for example, right, would be an obvious thing for Days of Decision, right? Much nicer than the big cards that you get at the moment. So there's, you know, it's probably the most obvious of our current games to get redone first.
Harry, where does this obsession of making it bigger come from?
It's already pretty big. After all,
I'm not going to make it bigger. I'm not going to make it bigger. And yeah, I know. It's funny at conventions. You know, people pick it up thinking it's an airbox, right? Because most big boxes like that are airboxes, and they almost rip their elbows out of their arms. Like, oh wow!
Oh my goodness! I believe I've seen that a few years ago when Compass Games had a couple copies of the deluxe for sale at Compass Expo, actually, where an unwitting individual would come by, pick the box up, and then make some grunting sound. Oh, my delicate back.
You know, Harry, I have the when Steve Jackson came out with a huge ogre box.
That's big. Yeah. This is heavier.
I went for it, but it's not. Yeah, it's not as heavy as that game.
That's because this thing is like solid mounted maps. That's crazy.
It is. 7 solid mounted maps. That's exactly what it is. 16 pounds.
Yeah, it's heavy. Very heavy. So,
Artie, what does that game go for now, US?
Oh, I want to say it worked out to be, with the exchange rate when I bought it. I don't know what the current price is, but with the exchange rate when I bought it, I think it was about $120, which seems insanely cheap.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, that's just for the classic, right? But the classic still got a massive stack of mounted maps.
Okay, so Harry,
yeah, it's your dollars. Our dollar's virtually worthless. It's about 65 cents US to the Australian dollar. So 269 is about 170. 170 for the deluxe. That's the deluxe.
Harry, did you make a deal with the devil? Because that's really cheap for what you get. And I don't know how you source out that material and make it's $1 a game.
The print run is much more expensive. The printing's 30% more expensive for the reprint since 2018. So we are going to put up the prices, but we will keep for a limited time for pre-orders. I'm about to change over because we've actually almost sold out of the classics as well. So I'm about to stop the sale, just do the reorder. just do for reorders, and we'll do the reorders for the same price at the moment. But it'll probably go up to $3.49 just because of the increase. But your dollar's actually gone down. That'll still bring it to about 210 US. But considering Melania Trump's book's 150, I think you get pretty good value for $210.
I'm looking.
That's not my reason for doing that.
I'm actually no, but that is what it sounded like.
150. Whoa, 300 or 200.
Asking a question, man. Hey, people want to know. Man.
I will point out that according to the current exchange rate on the website in US dollars, it comes to less than $115. Which is stupid. Considering the basically limitless replay value in a game like this, and in this particular case, the vast amount of stuff that comes in the box. I think you might as well double the price, to be completely honest about it.
Harry, that price is stupid. I don't care what Captain Rowland has to say. That price is stupid. If
you want to have proof how stupid it is, with all the sale, including all the sale of the Super Deluxe, by the way, which really helped out because. We sold the 3 old games. They're good games, but 3 old games along with the new game and all the kits and stuff. And lots of people want it. And it's a 40% discount. Right? And so we sold them for $600, and we sold 700 of them, the last 700 out of the 5,000 of our last print run of them. So, that was 400,000. But we sold them a total of $1 million, but the expenses were $800,000. So the total profit was $200,000 for a 10-year effort. So that works out at $20,000 a year. So
I want to puke.
So you can see why you have to do this for reasons other than the money.
Well, nobody's getting rich doing this.
Okay, no. Captain, relax. We're just talking.
Yeah, I think 400 would be too much. But I think 340. It's Australian, remember, not real money. So take at least a third off because it's currently below. It's a third off. So $349 would be $230, $240 for the deluxe game, which I think is a reasonable price. It might give us a little more than, hopefully $20,000 a year for the year.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, even since you mentioned it, that print run of that last print run of 5,000, that's a big print run for a war game nowadays. Let alone a game this big.
It was only 3,250 deluxe equivalents. It was about 8,000 per total. It was only 3,250. We should have made 5,000. We've done 5,000 of each ones up to now, except the 5th edition where we did that. But,
okay, Harry, hold on. I heard 20 grand. That's what you make a year from this game, 20 grand?
Australian. That's 14,000 US.
Okay, what's the matter with you, man? Get out of there. Get out.
I own my own house.
Call it a loss.
I don't need to sell the loss. I obviously undersold it, right? I spent the first 2 years after selling thinking, I made a huge mistake. This has cost a fortune. The freight alone is loan's $500,000, right? So out of that, about 400 to 500,000 freight. That million is Australian dollars. You've got to take a third off everything. But so it's 400,000 or 500,000 Australian dollar in freight, and that's because of the weight, right? That the weight of that. I know everyone complained about how much we charge for freight until they get the game,
right?
And then they look at the freight that they paid and what the cost of the actual game was, and then they start complaining. We only get about 70% back on the freight, so we're going to have to do something about that too. We're going to have to just be we can't keep wearing part of the freight costs as part of the sale.
So, Harry, this is completely a labor of love. There's no other nothing.
Intelligent people design games for how other people that other people want to play. I design games I want to play.
Yeah, I know that's the problem.
That's fair. So
I understand you, man.
Is the next printing just going to be pretty much a straight reprint of the current collector's edition then?
No. It's got all the errata in, so that's good. It's got a couple of little changes to the counters, not many, that won't have been that aren't in the counter sheet 55 that we gave as the errata one. The NKVD are now special elite units that can paradrop like the air land, like the 51st Air Landing, and one of the Russian motorized divisions is now a mech marine, so it's another special unit. The changes is to the maps are a little more substantial, not too much, but a little more, which is why people who buy the classic game now and buy the deluxe, we're going to give them, because it's taken so long to get them, we're giving them a free copy of the new maps as well. And basically the changes there, like the Philippine Railroads is now in. You can now see why the Japanese invaded where they did. That was where the head of the rail line was, which didn't exist. The Greek railroad, this is a bit more important, the Greek railroad that goes down the coast that avoids Bulgaria.
It's all in the game, Dan.
Shetland Islands. The Philippus Railroad was very important because Philippopolis, which goes along the coast, because it meant you could get from Turkey to Greece without going through Bulgaria, which was very important in World War I, not so important in World War II. Shetland Islands. We don't sell many games to Shetland Islands, and finally I figured it out because it's about the only place in the world that's not on the map. We've got all these dinky little, anything over 1 kilometre oasis in the Pacific is represented in World in Flames. Basically anything that could hold an airfield, anything big enough to hold an airfield is represented World in Flames, except the Shetland Islands, right? They should be furious.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to say something.
No more.
For lack of a better word, belligerent here, but there's a company, Artie. You know that company in I don't know where the hell they are, but they make super detailed games, and they sell.
Diffraction Entertainment.
Is that them?
Yeah, they're in the UK. Yeah.
Okay. So the research that I'm thinking of that is incredible. But Harry, your research, how many people you have working, ideas thrown around? Don't tell me it's just you, because it's just you.
No, it's not. No, not remotely. I've actually got some amazing playtesters, absolutely amazing developers, amazing editors. In fact, actually, half the audience here would have contributed to the game. If you look at the credits, it's quite extensive, and it nowhere near covers all the people.
You're being modest, Harry.
No,
I swear to God, you're incredible.
The worst mistake you can make is have ego in your game, right? I make the framework, right? I design the steel girders and bung the walls on. But you hang up the curtains and you decide where the windows go and you decide what furniture you want. It's your game. Everyone keeps saying, what's the ruling on this? What's the ruling on that? Well, I give the ruling that I like playing, but I tell everyone, don't play my game. Play the game you want to play, right? You might have different views than I do. So, you should just play it the way you want. But having said that, if people come up with good ideas, and they do all the time. And I want to have the errata-free game, and I'd love World in Flames to end up being errata-free. It's pretty close, but it's not yet errata-free.
Talk to Bill Thomas.
It's a sore spot. John Longshore has actually led us into my next set of questions here, and these are, of course, about Empires in Arms, a true classic and really kind of a one-of-a-kind experience that I have never yet experienced, even though I do now have a copy of it. Any plans for a new or updated edition of Empires in Arms?
Yes. Add it to the list.
Excellent.
Add it to the list, yes. Yeah, no, that's another game we want to go back to because it's a long time since it came out. It was our first design. I think it's a really good attempt. I think the rules are atrocious. We've learned a lot about rules since then. Greg, this is where Greg and I work well together in games. Greg's a lawyer by trade and was very good at English. I'm a mathematician, computer and statistician by trade, so I'm very good at the math stuff. But we both learned a lot about rules in the intervening time. And for a game like 7 Ages, I'm really proud of how much game you get for 10 pages of rules. And even World in Flames, considering how much game there is for just 96 pages of rules, 30-something of which are errata and 10 or so are examples, graphic examples. So the actual rules are only 40, 50 pages, and you get that in lots of games for a lot less. And Empires and Arms like to do the same, right? It's a great game, but and still got a lot of replayability, but it needs. I think it'd be time to do a makeover graphically, get it up to the hard mounted maps.
Harry, who's the logistical mastermind here? Because there's so many things you mentioned, so many departments.
I'm feeling guilty for asking you to spend this hour with us instead of working on all these fabulous projects.
For God's sakes, man!
No, you're the reason I'm blaming to the customers for the next week about why it's still not out yet. Oh, I had to do it.
That's totally fine. Please feel free to blame us. I have no problems with that at all.
And I mean, Harry, you're continuing the passion. And how many games are you focused on?
Well, I try to work on as few as possible. At the moment, it's 3, which is World in Flames, 7 Ages, and my new game, 5 Empires. But if I could stop, the basic problem is, and this is, look, I understand why customers are keen to get our games out. I'm keen to get them out, but I don't want to bring out a half-baked effort. I want to actually make it a really good game. So, the time is, to me, less of an issue than getting out a quality product. But, people rightly say, look, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? Yes, it's coming out. It's not coming out. And it's like, the only reasonable answer I can give them, the only honest answer is, well, 15 minutes after you just sent your email. Because it's that 3 or 4 hours a day I spend doing the business side that comes off the design side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 66. I've had heart problems, heart issues. If you've seen I nearly died in hospital a couple of years ago. So goes to show we've really got to make every day count, because you never know.
Relax.
We're doing this now because I have to rush off to Spiel to make more apologies about why this isn't out yet. And just answer a previous question before I forget that I saw come up. Was someone said that they love it that you have the ME-109s fighting the Spitfires, and was it a deliberate intent to make World in Flames have that sort of operational feel? Yes, it was. I think one of its actual reasons why it's been such a big seller is it's the most operational grand strategic game ever. It's hard to do, but we've come close with the Blitz and all the different aircraft types. So, and you have the real paper, scissors, stone of trying to get your best units against their worst units. So I think it really has that role-playing element.
Mm-hmm. So to echo Captain Nolan here, I am perfectly happy to wait until the product is finally polished and perfect and all that, because unlike everyone else, I am in fact getting younger. So I'm perfectly happy to wait, as you could tell.
But Harry, why have you look? I didn't look at your biography of games, but have you done other games, or have you solely focused on World in Flames and accessories?
Oh no. Well, we did. We've done World Cup football, which wasn't my design. That was a friend of mine from uni's design, which is our simplest game, and ended up being our biggest loser in terms of money, because people who play football, soccer, don't tend to play board games.
No.
So when we went to conventions to sell it, all the guys would come up, with their girlfriends and say, "Oh wow, a football game," and all the girlfriends go, "Oh no, it's a football game." And then after they played it for about 45 minutes, the guys say, "Well, it's not really a football game; it's more a maths game, isn't it?" And the women would say, "Hey, wow, it's not really a football game, is it?" So we had difficulties with that. The other games, of course, are mostly the 7 Ages, Empires in Arms, World in Flames, Rub Out, another game by Brent Nosworthy.
I know that.
A veteran of SPI.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he did those great books about Napoleonic tactics.
I believe he's just published a new book, or is about to as well, from what I hear on the what the little birds tell me.
Yeah, no, it was a good game. It's just everyone warned us in the industry, don't produce a gangster game. Gangster games don't sell, because the problem is it's the mums of the kids who tend to buy those games, and they don't want to buy gangster games.
That's fair.
Harry, what was
I
the first
ignored
game that you bit that they gave you this disease?
I'm
Oh,
not
well, the way it started was FX magazines. The back page of FX,
Hmm.
because I was into little plastic soldiers. A friend of mine had little FX soldiers, and so he started playing with those, and then Napoleonic. And so we got the FX magazine for the models, and the back was the one page on SPI in England. And we didn't know even SPI was an American company. So we wrote away to SPI in England and just ordered all these SPI games. And, they're all those, remember? They're just black and white and blue. There was only two colours.
That's all the colors that Redmond Simonson had too
I know.
for a while.
Very bipolar. And I just got really into it. And my first game that I really loved was probably Third Reich. That was a real eye-opener for me.
Seminal game.
Yeah. The other games, for Empires in Arms, 1812 was the genesis for that. The area game of 1812.
Interesting. Very interesting. I've very recently acquired that, actually.
Oh, you should give it a go.
I plan to.
The strategy game was much better than the tactical game.
You know, Harry, you're a serious grognard, man. Like, serious.
Well, that's why we asked her to be on the show, Dan.
He's serious.
I always do high data games. I love high data. What I love most of all is to present high data effortlessly to gamers. So with 7 Ages, all the data's on the cards. So you don't need any rules for it, right? The rules on the cards. When you get a special benefit for your empire, that's all explained. It's all in, there's sort of, we simplify the wording, but it's all in English. There's no sort of code type thing that you need to, except for the actual victory, glory conditions, but they're pretty easy to work out.
Man, I mean, that's Harry. The amount of information you're saying, it boggles my mind. I mean, how you can store that.
So in this particular scenario, Harry, you're failing to convey large quantities of data to Dan. But this is nothing new if you've seen the show.
All right, here's some data for you, Dan. Here's some data for you. What was the best garrison division in World War II?
The best garrison division?
In World War II.
To be in? Because I've got my idea.
It's the only 3 factor. Do you want me to give you the country?
Hold on. You're going to say Anzac something, right?
No. They've got the best infantry, of course. That goes without saying.
They had work to do.
American rubbish. No, this is the best garrison division. It's not Commonwealth.
It's the Canadians.
It's equal best. To be fair, it's equal best.
The Canadians.
No. The Japanese 109th Division. Do you know where the Japanese 109th Division was? Do you know where the Japanese 109th Division was stationed?
In
Shame on you. Shame on you. Iwo Jima.
Oh.
Those were the defenders of Iwo Jima. So if you want to defend if you want to have the best garrison defense in the Pacific, you stick the 109th Division onto Iwo Jima.
Harry,
that is the detail we go to.
I thought you were going to say Gibraltar because they sat around eating tapas all day.
I'm just a cheerleader.
No. I wanted one to be.
It's Artie that should be ashamed. I'm just a cheerleader.
That's not a problem. So you know what? There's been a couple of questions about this. What has your involvement been with the digital World in Flames implementation that was put out by Matrix Games? I actually have it, but I haven't played it. How closely were you involved in that?
Well, we started it with Chris Marinacci. Started it, and we worked on it for years. And then another guy, Eric, worked on it, and then eventually. So when we handed it over, it was already close to being. It was missing network play and it was missing AI. But it
still is. Play. So,
well, it's supposed to have the network play in now. The network play was installed, but it's supposed to. Yeah, in the last edition, it's the latest edition it has, and they're now working. They've got the AI for Barbarossa coming out. The AI, it is a really difficult game to do AI for, and that is. I think that has really hurt its sales, and if they could get just even a reasonable, no one expects AI to beat people, but just as a reasonable opponent to learn the game, I think that'd be a great addition.
No argument from me on that. Any plans? I missed a World in Flames question. Any plans to do an updated mounted Africa map?
Yes.
That'd be cool to have.
Yeah. No, because that now has to. There's a couple of translation issues, as gamers know. So that would have. That is something, yes, that we want to work on. But again, this is like, how many hours in the day have I got? I mean, that's the sort of thing I could potentially, possibly, put out to someone else potentially. Some of the stuff, like the design stuff, I think I have to be intimately involved with. But the graphics stuff, I think I could safely give to others. But yeah, that's it.
Harry, do you ever attend any cons in the States?
I haven't. I used to go every year to Origins and Gen Con.
I remember. I remember buying stuff from you at Origins many years ago. Actually,
yeah. It was good. It was really good. You know, we'd bring in pallet loads of games and we'd ship them out that day. You know, so no, it was a good way to pay off the printing costs. Was to cover.
And what about going just as a board gamer, like to play, not with your company?
Oh yeah, I could do that as well. I haven't been since September 11, just because it was already difficult as an alien getting into the US, and so I think it was going to be even tougher after that.
Well, as long as you leave your shampoo at home, you should be okay.
So that's what an alien looks like, huh?
Yeah, that's right. That's what our aliens look like. Exactly.
I knew it. Australia, they don't want nobody. I mean,
well, Dan, did you have something?
No, I formulated my sentence backwards.
Oh, fair enough. All right, so 7 Ages, right? This is there's a new edition. What's the timetable look like for the new edition of 7 Ages? Because BGG actually listed as 2024.
Yeah. No, it's going to be 2025 now. It's going to be hopefully April. It's all finished. It's been finished since March or April. But we've had to get, because we've sold out of World in Flames, and we had to get the reprint done. And because it's so complex getting the game for printing, because we use lots of obsolete Adobe Illustrator graphics that Adobe Illustrator have changed, and some parts of Adobe know about the changes and others haven't, particularly patterns. So it made it really difficult to get them printed. But it's basically finished. We just got to do the Kickstarter campaign to raise some funding for it, and then go to print. Basically, it's all done.
So
5 years testing.
Are you saying you're going to change the graphics on World in Flames?
7 Ages.
7 Ages.
Jesus Christ!
So I felt like just from a. Let alone the physical presentation aside, the production values with the mounted maps and all that stuff, I felt like there was a significant graphics upgrade just with the collector's edition over the final edition. I may have missed an edition in between them because I went from the final edition directly to collector's.
The final was the 6th and 7th. They were merged into two. The 7th was just a reprint, just with very marginal changes to the rules. But it was officially another reprint. But it was just basically, they were both the final edition.
Right.
Yes, they were massive graphics. We spent an awful lot of effort and paid, $100,000 in graphics, as well as me doing a lot of it as well. So
that's pretty. I mean, that's Australian money though, so it's
real money. None of this is real money.
Right. John Stanley, thanks for the question here and the support. It's much appreciated. John mentions the 14th Japanese Army Division that was on Pelelu. That might be another interesting one. I'm not sure it was quite as fiercely defended as Iwo Jima, but it was still pretty fiercely defended. And lots of folks question the decision on the necessity of taking Pelelu in the first place, of course.
Well, the thing about Well, I'm checking now. I'm checking my counters here, right here, to see if the 14th is included.
I'm just going to move the microphone a little further from my face.
And Artie, can you
That should
define
suffice.
garrison for me? And what scale is a garrison?
Well, it depends, right? But it's just a static unit that sits somewhere and doesn't generally engage in maneuvers or offensives or anything like that, right?
So it can be from 5 to 1,000 people.
No, it's usually a division scale.
Yeah.
Usually, we wouldn't put them in with 5,000. They usually got to be at least 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So at Iwo Jima, a divisional garrison of 10,000.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
right. Garrison divisions were about that number.
So you're looking at a Kickstarter for 7 Ages sometime in early 2025. Then,
yeah, that's right.
Like.
Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
We'll have to.
If we've got someone who's got a castle nearby that can reach to us, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, we'll have to have some news items on that when it does arrive. And that's not one that I've played, actually. Oh, my goodness, with this. This is a running joke, Harry, that you don't really need to know about. And trust me, you don't want to.
If you want to know, Harry, I'm here.
7 Ages is a game that's always intrigued me because I like that general kind of game, but I have never played it or even owned it, but I may have seen a copy of it from time to time. What does availability in the States look like? Do you still have like a U.S. agent that is warehousing and shipping stuff directly like inside the U.S.?
We're just done a deal for World in Flames with Dan Leader of Noble Knight. They're been great customers for us for many years. And basically, we're sending them a container load of World in Flames so that they will have a hopefully never-ending supply of World in Flames. And we're keen to do the same deal with 7 Ages when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
This is to try to minimise the freight cost and to, we maximise the discount that Dan gets. And we're happy to talk with other distributors about this as well. Mm-hmm. And certainly we'd like set up in every country. We've got a distributor in mind for Germany, and we'd be looking possibly for one in England as well. Spain, we're looking at as well. These are our big markets.
It's funny how Noble Knight really focuses on like war games sincerely.
Oh,
Dan's a great guy.
Yeah, in fairness, they kind of do everything, but they do everything quite well. So I will actually be meeting Dan for the first time this weekend. So that's going to be great. I will 100% do that. Yeah, we're actually driving up there from Ohio.
Great guy. Anyone needs any recommendation?
This is probably destined to be our next ongoing running joke.
Okay,
actually,
what's going on? Who is this guy, Captain Nolan? Where does he live?
I don't know, but wherever it is, it's not expensive enough.
He sounds important and needs a promotion.
Yeah, he's a captain after all. Soon he will become Colonel Nolan, and we'll all have to salute him.
Yeah, it's like I've known him for 10 years or something. That's what I hear from my friends.
We're gonna get a lot of mileage out of this one, folks. Trust me. So, Vincenzo, thanks so much for the support. Much appreciated. I'll ask the question slightly differently, though. That's a pair of questions. What games do you like to play besides the stuff you yourself are working on or have published?
Do you have time?
If you have time for such frivolity.
Well, a game I do have much time for. I've played hundreds and hundreds of times. And the epitome of what I think is the best gaming system, which is the card-driven gaming system, which I believe was a Mark Herman invention. So hats off to Mark Herman as well.
Excellent. Mark says hi, by the way.
Yeah, I say hi to Mark too. Mark's another lovely guy.
Mark passed that along to us last week when we had him on.
Yeah, so. No, I've got a lot of time for Mark. We've had lots of chats in the past.
I'd marry him, but it would be platonic.
It would be weird.
I miss
that's
going to Origins One Reason is because of people like Mark. They're really intelligent. But Pursuit of Glory, I think, is a fantastic game for so many reasons. The rules are really dodgy, but they've just brought out a new edition. GMT have just brought out a new edition. And Mark Simovich has spent a lot of effort redoing them, particularly in the do you remember the Ralph, I can't remember his name, who did the Crimea one, the Crimea in Fire Movement many years ago. I think he became the editor of Fire Movement for a while. He talked about always put rules in sequence of play order. And so they've made the rules much better. But the reason the game's so great is it's card-driven, so it's got heaps of replayability. And it's because both sides are attacking for the whole game. One of the problems with World in Flames is the first half's doing all the attacking, and then the second half does most of the attacking. For Shit of Glory, both sides are attacking the whole game. So it's actually, so cool. And it's very exciting. Very exciting. Really
and then to ask the other half of Vincenzo's question, how closely have you looked at, other than Third Reich, of course, which if you're a gamer of a certain generation, you played Third Reich, there's no need to even ask. But there's some others games that are kind of in a similar space as World in Flames, right? Like a World at War or the new Axis Empires or The War from Ernie Copley and Compass Games. Have you played any of those?
No.
Admittedly, they're all time consuming.
Yeah, I haven't played any of those. I played the very old World War II game, I think it was called, and I played Axis and Allies many years ago, and it was a fun game, good introductory game. I was intrigued by Totalakrieg because it was another card-driven game, but and got a copy, but never got a chance to play it. No, I haven't really had time to play the others.
Well, you're in good company because Bruce Harper, the fellow that is the main guru behind World at War, also doesn't have time for other games. So
this guy needs to learn respect there. I gotta visit him.
Like I said, Dan, this is going to replace hopefully your toilet as our ongoing running joke every week.
This guy, I can't wait to meet him. I want to see him.
There was somebody, it might have been Roger McGowan, actually, who, of course, Harry will be familiar with, to say the least, since here's a Roger McGowan cover right here. Posted something, one of the original ads for Cross of Iron, and how everybody was up in arms that it was $12 for just an expansion kit at the time, and now of course, that's hilarious. So... But
yeah, those were the days. Empires in Arms, when we first brought it out, and went to the first Origins in 1983. We were selling it for $45 US, and we were told that was far too expensive. 36 was the most, and the problem with 36, they all want 60% discount, distributors, and that meant seller get it, 40%, that's $12, and it costs like $18 to make. So it's like, no, even if we sell it at 45, we're selling it for cost. If we sell it for less, we might as well just give it to you. So they grumbled, but then they blamed us later for how all prices went up, because everyone thought, oh, well, if you could charge this ridiculous price for Empires in Arms, I'm going to charge it for all my games as well.
It was an interesting, I would imagine, I only recently actually was in the same room as a physical copy of the ADG version of Empires in Arms. I suspect I'm not alone.
Worth a fortune. I don't have a mint copy of that either.
Yeah, I'd imagine most Americans experienced it through the Avalon Hill version. How did that connection come up? How did that game end up getting published by Avalon Hill?
Well, I just rang up
the dots and said, "Hey, let's talk."
No, we never. No. Who was the next? Not Tom Shaw.
Ah, okay.
Who was the CEO? Eric and Jack were the owners of Avalon Hill.
Wasn't Tom Shaw an editor?
No. Who was
the general?
Yeah. Who was the one who was the CEO, the head of Avalon Hill?
I thought that was Tom Shaw.
Tom Shaw. Yeah. Tom Shaw. Yeah. I said we either sent him a letter or rang him. I must have sent him a letter, and they. No. They contacted us. What am I talking about? After it had come out, Craig Taylor. He got a copy. He loved the game. he he went to they played it up on the upper floor of Avalon Hill, and loved it, all the designers, developers playing it, and so they pushed Tom Shaw to contact us. He contacted us to say they want to buy it, so we negotiated with them, and then but before we bought it, when I turned up, we were nominated for Game of the Year, and as I walked into the Origins, where you get the Charles Roberts Award, and I sat directly behind Craig, and Craig just turned to me and said, "The fix is in, Harry." And I had no thought at the time that we had any chance, because we were 2 votes. It's like the Oscars. The designers, developers, artists get a vote. Avalon Hill had, 30 or 40 votes. Milton Bradley had, I don't know, hundreds of votes, and they were the last one to win it with Axis and Allies. And so I was all of a sudden got excited. And then when we actually won it as Game of the Year, we're nominated. That was, now I'm getting confused. That was World in Flames when we actually won it. He said that even though they had decided to, they were told to, they should vote for Avalon Hill games, they all decided to vote as a block for us. But with the Empires in Arms, he really loved it, so he called us. We went over and then paid for a trip for us to go and see him. He went through all the changes he wanted to make. He was very respectful. Our view, as I say, is it's your game, it's your money. You can make changes, we will make recommendations. And he just went ahead and produced it. And later, when we won the World in Flames award, Tom Shaw came up, because we then offered World in Flames to Avalon Hill. Tom Shaw came up and said, not taking World in Flames was the biggest mistake of my career.
Interesting. I'm also fascinated by the pivotal role played by S. Craig Taylor here, who I think is one of the great unsung war game designers that we don't pay enough attention to. The late Craig Taylor, of course.
Is he unsung?
I'm afraid.
Is he unsung?
I'm sorry?
Is he unsung? I thought he was really well known and really.
Well, I talk about him a lot, but I don't know. I don't feel like. There's just so many masterful games that he did. Right
Yaquinto? Games
for Yaquinto and Battle Line, and a lot of those, ended up with Avalon Hill, right? Like Wooden Ships and Iron Men was one of his, and Flat Top was one of his. That's one of my all-time favorites.
He's a great designer. Was a great designer.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we don't talk enough about Craig Taylor.
Yeah, no. He was fantastic. I particularly love those were those Napoleonic games that he did with Yaquinto. I think Borodino. Did he do Borodino?
Ooh, there was a Borodino game that Yaquinto did, as I recall.
Lots of fun. Really good game.
Yeah. Was that the Great Redoubt? By any chance?
I think so.
Yeah, that absolutely was the Great Redoubt. That's a very interesting game. They did some good stuff. Nobody knows. Dan, everybody was speculating that you had gone off to make sure that prices were going up. So.
This is bad, man.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned Wooden Ships and Iron Men, but that's another great S. Craig Taylor classic.
Yeah, Wooden Ships and Iron Men. Yeah.
Fabulous game. It holds up just as well today as the day it was published, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, what do you got there, Dan? Right, rising prices. That's what Dan has. So, what else did I have in my notes here?
Well, you like to learn about design philosophy.
Well, we've actually gotten a little bit of that from you, actually, right? I mean, we kind of extract those questions and the questions about production design and that kind of stuff.
I think you're nuts.
Particularly interesting. Well, you know what, though? Thinking about it, the sort of strategic, what I'll call the strategic level World War II space, which is a little bit of an oversimplification, because like you said, there's an operational element to World in Flames, right? What was that?
And
Dan?
role play.
That's true too. That's true too. I
all
guess
the most successful games are role-playing games. So Empires and Arms, we discovered this early in Empires and Arms. Some people love playing England because they love playing ships, and some people love playing armies because they love playing the French. I hate playing ships. I consider them just glorified torpedoes. Loss, as I send them the British Navy out in World in Flames, never to see them again. But I'm really good at the land side. So you just get this character where you just take one character or another, and I think that really gets players into the game.
That's a really interesting observation. It's in the same territory as an observation that I've made, which is that I have seen Empires in Arms specifically played by a surprisingly large number of people who don't play war games, right? People who are into, in one case, it was actually a Magic the Gathering group that was getting together every week to play Empires in Arms for a couple of years. I walked in on their Empires in Arms game and I'm like, what the hell is this? What's going on in here? You guys aren't playing. This isn't Magic the Gathering. And they were totally into it. It really is a unique game. There's really not a lot like it.
I was told that the United States Air Force, I don't know if they still do it, but years ago they used to use it for their cadets to teach diplomacy. How to negotiate with
really?
Yeah, they tried to do that with diplomacy. It didn't end well. So there were fisticuffs, some guys ended up in the stockade. It was very unpleasant.
Strange love. This is a war.
Okay. That's a great segue into a question I want to ask you guys, which is a fraught thing that's been concerning me for some time now, which is multiplayer games. World in Flames is okay because it's two sides. It can be harsh because you get more grief from your allies and your enemies, but you know who your enemies are. Problems with Empires in Arms, games like Empires in Arms, multiplayer games, is you can have friendships. Same with diplomacy. You can have friendships break up over them. There was one game I remember, notorious game in America I played Prussia was stabbed by his ally Russia, and he was so furious he picked up the Russian player and threw him across the table.
Wow. Okay.
So the whole table collapsed. All the counters went everywhere. That was the end of the game. That was the end of their friendship. And I felt it wasn't me. I felt really guilty that I designed a game that had broken up a friendship. And this is the problem. I'm kind of wondering how. This is why there's so many cooperative multiplayer games, because the problem with multiplayer games is you work out in the hierarchy of friends where you stand. Because the person who wins multiplayer games aren't the person who is the best gamer. It's the most liked gamer.
Right.
That's funny as hell.
Yeah, see, this is why I don't play diplomacy, because I am old and slow. So it just ends up me chasing a younger, faster person around the table, and it's very embarrassing for everyone involved. I think that's an interesting point, though.
With Seven Ages, I'm concerned this might be an issue with Seven Ages. Now, Seven Ages empires are disposable. So, no, I agree with that.
Seriously,
I agree with Doug on this one as well.
You learn a lot about playing games.
I don't want to learn about my friends.
A lot about people about playing games with them. Definitely learn a lot. I remember playing a game with my then girlfriend, and it was a dinner party, and there was this other guy, used car salesman, needless to say, who kept on. We were playing Pictionary, and he kept on looking at his partner, just briefly looking at his partner's card, and then he'd say all these random stupid things till he'd be actually listening to everyone else till he heard someone coming close, and then he'd just spurt out the name. And I was just thought it was humorous, But my girlfriend, who was really timid, wouldn't say boo to a goose, was so furious she just turned to the table and said, "Do we mind not looking at our partner's cards before we play?" Right?
Come on. I mean, diplomacy, I'm not interested. Cosmic Encounter, I'm not interested. Dune, I'm not interested because it's all backstabbing and you learn something about the people you play with.
That's true, but in Dune's case, the backstabbing's kind of built into the game, to be fair. But I think this is a legitimate question, but to expand on Doug's thought here, to me, at least, we do the occasional multiplayer game. If you get a person who just can't handle it, maybe you don't invite them next time, right? Life's too short to play games with people that you don't get along with well enough to
No,
not get in a fist fight over a game of Empires in Arms, right?
Yeah, you're going to play a game
That is true.
that you get along with people. That's the thing.
Well, this is true, and a lot of people have said, the old adage is that you play D&D with the people that you're friends with, and diplomacy with the strangers at the game convention. I'm not positive that's a great idea, because that's
horrible.
That's how somebody gets escorted out of the convention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm hoping with Seven Ages, it's a much lighter game. It's got a lot of humor in it. Because they're disposable empires, right? You're not meant to take it seriously. In fact, it's actually designed so your own empires might be competing with each other. And so, and you might be competing, we've both got 3 empires. We've all got 3 empires. So I might be, fighting with one of you over in one part of the map and negotiating with you on the other part of the map. Right? And you can actually do the negotiations about, okay, I only need to kill you enough for me to get enough points. So I'm not serious about it.
Let me ask.
Wait, hold on, Artie. Hold on.
All right, go ahead.
Harry, this comment over here from Carl, the War Game Boot Camp. He never had a problem. The guy's 6'4", 300 pounds. He didn't have a problem.
That is admittedly an asset on his behalf when playing diplomacy. He just looms over people and stares down at them and says something like "Hulk smash now." But my question actually. Hearing you describe Seven Ages in that way makes me wonder if an influence might not have been Jim Dunnigan's Russian Civil War.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, the influences also. I think it was Rise and Fall. I think it was called. Just a minute. That was another one where.
I was thinking of History of the World too, actually, which I think does something like that. But I'm not sure.
Well, it's definitely. Which one did you just mention? Sorry, the
History of the World from Avalon Hill.
Oh yeah. No. Actually, no. History of the World is not an influence because I played History of the World once, and I have to say I was very disappointed because it was very procedure driven.
That's a fair statement, in my opinion.
And the fact that your empires just disappeared after a turn, you never got the role-playing aspect that we've been talking about. So to me, the 2 were Britannia and Rise and Fall.
I have not played Britannia. Good, that's another really interesting. Lou Pulsifer. Originally, I think so.
That gave me the idea of the multiple empires, because Rise and Fall you have several, and also the victory points being dependent on each one. The Rise and Fall, a great game, greatly underappreciated, almost impossible to get hold of. 1988 by a very small publisher. It had the 5 barbarians to Rome, East and West Rome, and 5 barbarian empires that you could choose one of the barbarians, and you come in all against the Romans. And if the East Roman gets knocked out, that person then comes back as a barbarian and fights the other Roman. So that gave me the idea about empires coming in and out, and you being able to re-establish empires.
Well, you've sold me on the new version of Seven Ages, Harry. If not, you've accomplished nothing else this evening. Also, you have the okay from Dan to raise all your prices by about 80%. So I think you should definitely consider this a moral victory.
If I could give you 2 more quick reasons as to why I love Seven Ages. 3. One is 10 pages of rules. Unbelievable amount of game for 10 pages of rules. That's all. It's a 40-page rule book, but it's 20 pages designers, players' notes, 6 pages of options.
And this is what game we're talking about?
Seven Ages.
7 Ages.
Again.
And the second point is it's easy to get into. World in Flames takes 2 hours to set up. Really big.
Oh, my God. Harry, why?
2 hours. Harry's better at it than I am, folks. It took me about 5 hours to set it up on Vassal. So,
well, we've now got the things on the back of the ship, so you can put the ships in the right place. So that speeds that up, which was the slowest part. 7 Ages is 30 seconds. You lay out the 2 maps. You deal 7 cards to each player. Start the game. Right. So when I go to Steel in a couple of weeks' time, it's going to be really easy to show. And for the punters at the show, they say, wow, that's it. That's all I need to set up this game. And that's it. And the third thing is, and this is a key part of the design part, originally the game was designed as You go, I go. You do your 3 actions for your 3 empires. I do mine. You know, Dan does his. We all do our 3 actions. But the problem was, in a 7-player game, you're sitting there forever and you think you're really quick, and why is everyone else so slow, right? It's just embarrassing how slow they are, right? So, and this took 6 years. It was a good game, but it had that huge downtime. And then it was just a 90-degree rotation of the game on its axis from becoming a player-based game to an action-based game. And by turning it into an action-based game, it added the extra dimension of you've got the action marks at the start, which wasn't strictly necessary, but you've got to decide which actions do you want to play on which empires. So it's it's not a sequence play, it's a menu of options, and you choose which one. And you've got the wild card so you can double up. So you've got to do that. But most importantly, you get to do 3 actions out of 7 now. So instead of being 1 player out of 7, you're involved in every second action. And because a lot of the actions we can do together, like bills, instead of me doing my bills and waiting for you to do your bills, we can all do our bills together. So it cut the time to play by half. It was the most dramatic thing, added huge amounts of fun to the game, and now gives that interaction between not only what am I going to play, but when am I going to play it? I've got 2 empires that could say do a maneuver, right? So on some, do I do the one where I'm going to get to go first or the one where I'm going to get to go second? And because the turn rotates, you can end up doing the double moves like you can in Empires in Arms as well, where you get to be the last one go first, the next go. So I'm really excited by it. I think it's going to go really again early next year, as soon as my son Peter does the film.
Excellent. So that's fantastic. I will make sure to feature it when that Kickstarter does go live.
Yeah, we'll send a copy, no worries. Deluxe.
Well, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
You have to slum it.
I would appreciate. This is the Kickstarter price. Dan's going to have his own special backer level on the Kickstarter. That's double the price for everybody else.
I have something to say. I've come to a realization that Captain Nolan is a prick. That's possible, but in this case, Dan, you did kind of ask for it. So.
Well, whatever. If it's real money, sold.
That's true. There you go. But it's, you know what? This is Canadian money, though. So that's also like $7.50. So
did Harry just say sending you a game?
Yeah, I think so.
Harry,
I will be delighted.
2 copies.
There you go, Dan. See, there you go. You don't even have to. Don't worry, Dan. I'll make sure he bills you for it anyway. Don't worry.
For God's sake.
Harry, this has been, other than the video problem, your videos, your audio has been not a problem. Your audio has been fine, and that's more important anyway. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll have to have you back on at some point in the not terribly distant future.
It's really been fun.
All right, fantastic.
Even apart from the fact that I get to blame you for the next 3 months about the delays in the games, it's been
and any price increases as well. So that's all, Dan.
I just said to you.
Oh, that's
Captain
fine.
Nolan told me to do it. Nothing to do with me. It's the law.
Yeah, well, exactly. Dan gets the blame for any price increases. However, that's in the contract. I'm just saying. Dan says war games are too inexpensive, and he would love to pay more for them.
For God's sake!
So, months. We're going to be using this for months, folks. I'm going to clip this show, and you're going to see nonstop YouTube shorts every day about Dan saying the prices should all go up. This is going to be one of the best shows of all time. Well, all right, folks, we got to run. Folks, we got to run. Harry, it's been fantastic talking to you tonight. Thanks so much for coming by. Everybody, thanks for watching. We had a whole lot of people here tonight. We will be back soon, next week with another very special guest. Everybody have a great rest of the night.
Great to see you guys.